Hi everyone, today is December 8th, 2018, and this is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger.
And I'm Deck Tech.
And after not much going on besides the Kaiba Cup for the past few weeks, we've got a huge week this week. A moment that me and many other people have been waiting for. We finally get Tristan. It was a bit of a roller coaster of a week because we thought we were getting him right away, and then we weren't, and then we did get him yesterday, yesterday, I think. So, well worth the wait. We finally have him. We have a PvE event that was associated with Tristan, and also a new box coming out. So, there's a ton going on. Just a ton. And we're going to talk about it all today. And also a new thing called Deep Link, which we'll talk about too. So, Deck Tech, where are you this week?
Yeah, so I've had an embarrassing problem in that I ran out of data like a child. So I haven't been able to play at work like I normally do, just kind of like grinding events and stuff while I'm working and doing my standard duel lists. And so as a result, I'm just like super behind this week. I haven't really had a lot of time to play PvP because whenever I play, when I get home, I want to finish, like I want to catch up on the event stuff that I should have done this while I was away. I still haven't gotten Tristan. I only played a couple PvP games, and when I did, I realized that I just like skipped the entire Stamps event because I didn't play during that time.
There's a new Stamps event, yeah.
There's a new one now?
I think that's why I replaced it, because there's two going on, yeah.
Okay, well, then I guess I need to start playing again. Anyway, regardless, all of that was a mistake, and mistakes were made. And so I've been playing a little bit, but mostly it's just been the PvE events trying to catch up from not being able to do my normal schedule.
Yep.
How about you?
Yeah, I was doing mostly the PvE event this week. Actually, we'll talk about it later, but I think it's a lot easier this time. In that it's less grindy, I think, the overall event. The maps look a little smaller, and the duels are easier. If they could be easier, they are easier in the dice battles and things like that. So I did get Tristan yesterday because I was kind of ahead. I hit the infinite level by the first day, so you know how excited I was. And I did get him to level 20 this morning, actually. I had too many orbs. That was my issue, and they were going in my box, so I figured I might as well use these orbs, and I got him to level 20 specifically just so I could get a skill from Tristan. And that immediately had a vampire thing link to me, so I made the deck this morning, which I basically just copied my bandit list into the Tristan one and made it put the Tristan skill, and then I did win a game, so there is a lot going to follow with this Tristan Vampires TM, which I have claimed to invented right here, right now. So
there you go. 1 game sample size, 100% win rate.
Yep, that's Teo win rate right there. All right. So we are only going to talk about one esport event, and the rest of the episode's pretty much looking at cards. So if you like card reviews, this episode's for you. This is Duel Links Meta Weekly 49. This is before Tristan dropped, so none of his cards or any of the event cards from him, or of course the Minibox, which is releasing tomorrow. So this one is 56 players only, and Vampires took the top here for Hires number 2. I'm not really sure how the meta is shaking out, but the Masked Heroes seem to have dwindled for some unknown reason. And of course, there's the inclusion of the Banished Control deck. Well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you want to go through, the placements and stuff?
Yeah, let's do it. Whatnot, first place, Sealed Tombs UA. This is a UA deck. There's a lot of control trap cards here. This one's a bit more expensive. You got 3 Drowning Mirror Force, 3 Canadia, and it seems they're moving towards a Paleozoic package. You have the 3 Morellas, and that's kind of inspired by the success of Paleozoic decks and their ability to ramp. Morella doesn't do anything except you throw away a trap card, so you throw away another Morella, I guess, and they come back as these monsters which help you ramp. So that kind of solves the problems for UAs.
Yeah. Also, just Canadia plus Drowning Mirror Force is a really good combo because it very much protects you against just getting OTK'd, um, unless they hate True Nade first or something. But you can either stop them right in their tracks with Canadia, or you can let them build and then stop them with the Drowning Mirror Force. And Drowning Mirror Force is also really good if there are masked heroes, which there were not very many in this tournament, but I think it's safe to assume that they'll be, it's something to consider, and it's very good against masked heroes as well. So this kind of makes sense. We haven't seen much of the UAs in a bit, so it's kind of cool to see them again, I guess. I kind of hate them, but,
Yeah.
You
noted that Bushi is in the side deck, and it's kind of weird that it took so long for his card to appear in the UA deck, because it is, like, it seems to be a continuing source of ramp. It seems like it could be tribute summoned twice, so, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a good pick. So the limitation on it is that it only works with warrior types, but all the UA cards are warrior types, so that is fine.
Yep. Second place, Godfather DL, Bandit Vampires. This is a bit like that second place deck in Kaiba Cup 21 card version of the 24 card deck. And, you've cut a Mirror Force, you cut a Gazuki, it's things like that. And this is pretty much how I would build a Vampire deck. Similar, very, you got your 2 cards to lose life, so there's the Cosmic Cyclone and the Mirror Wall that kind of help you use the Bandit skill, so that's what this is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. I don't play the deck, so I don't really have too much to add on it.
Alright.
There's no sideboard. That's weird. That's one thing to add. I don't know if that just was an error in submissions, or if Duel Links meta forgot or something, or if this guy just decided not to bring a sideboard to a sideboard event. That would be
Let's go with that.
Foolish.
Let's go with that one.
Okay.
Got second place.
We'll call it a power play.
Yeah.
He just decided he didn't need one.
Yep. Third place, Cray, Tie That Binds for Hires deck. The deck's not dead, obviously, as you can see. This deck. So, I have faced this deck. I think it's because DK made a video about how to use Inverse Universe, and that basically takes advantage of the huge defense that Wiz has.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw some people, I think on Twitter, talking about this as well. So, it's mostly for Wiz, but I guess there's also some other uses.
Well, I was playing Vampires, and they have 0 defense, so this guy's screwed me over.
There you go.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense then. Yeah, I figured there was going to be some meta deck with really low defenses. I think Anki has really low defense.
At 12,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah, so, it kind of makes sense that certain meta cards already have low defense, and then most of your guys also have low defense, but your kind of main, really important guy has really high defense, so you can switch them. You can also obviously do it at a time that's opportune for you, where you attack in with your other guys first, and then you switch and you attack in with Wiz for the final blow. It can also do some interesting stuff with, make your wall of Ds more successful, where even if you make your guys small, you're making their guys even smaller, so that your 500 is still killing their thing. I don't know. It's an interesting card, especially since it's one that is a little bit less common, and even if DK made a video about it, people are probably not necessarily playing around it, so you can get some surprise wins that way too.
And frankly, I was surprised when we first got Cyrus that this card wasn't played. I immediately saw it as obviously the Roids sucked, so it seemed like this card was the best of all the cards. So I was always surprised why this card was never played, and then I forgot about it, so it came back. So that's what happened.
Yeah, there you go. Now it's time to figure out what else it works in, I guess.
Yeah. And third place, Edu16. This is the Banished Control deck, which we called Spellcaster Control, or whatever we called it last week. But you got your Breakers, your DD Assailants, you have the Amazon package, you have Wind Up Jugglers, and then a lot of good trap cards.
Yeah, I like calling this one just Banish, because The one that felt really like a spellcaster one was the one that ran the Silent Magician.
Right.
That was a cool deck, and I wish I had the cards for it because I'd like to play that. This one just kind of seems like powerful banish effects with a little bit of just kind of slowly chipping away your opponent through moderately sized monsters. Once you've kind of cleared the way, these guys get to attack in and, you know, eventually kind of kill your opponent that way. It is also 24 cards, so you have like a chance of just super slowly decking out your opponent, but you do have the princess, so against other 24 card decks might not work. But it's like, it seems like kind of you have either route. Your main option though is probably more of like a mid-range chip them down instead of actively trying to mill them or deck them out.
Yep.
Until you get to the sideboard.
You noted the obnoxious Celtic Guardian and then the Sword of the Deep-Seated for the sideboard. What's interesting about these cards?
Yeah, they're both cards that you don't see super often. I've always been a little surprised that Obnoxious Celtic Garden hadn't seen more play.
Yeah.
It seems like it's an okay card, especially with limited amounts of removal in this game. There's no Reigekis and Dark Holes and other such things to just easily take care of it. And then Sword of Deep-Seated is really good for any sort of like either as part of your deck out plan or as just a counter to a deck out plan. It's if you have a reliable way of getting rid of it, including just filling up your hand, then you just can't deck out. So if you have any sort of discard package, which this one doesn't really, it only has the princess, which is only like a couple activations maybe, and then it doesn't even benefit. Yeah, it benefits you if you pull from your hand instead of your deck. So it can put you plus in that sense. But that's only a few activations. But still, you could fill up your hand, like I said, and pitch at the end of the turn, and essentially it just makes your deck into a deck out deck, or protects you from deck out in one card, which is pretty cool. And it also combos well with the Obnoxious Celtic Guardian, because Obnoxious Celtic Guardian can't be attacked by something with 1900 or more attack. It has 1400, Sword of Deep-Seated gives it 500, so it becomes 19 that cannot be attacked by anything bigger than it, which is, pretty good.
I think it went away for a while because the 1800s were meta, and that was the sweet spot, and then, yeah, that kind of thing happened.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's pretty bad against things like Sergeant Electro and the 1800 guys, and just there are a lot of decent monsters that still beat it. But I guess when there's a lot more like breakers in the meta, and pretty much everything is a big old special summon that's higher than 1900, then those options aren't. Then it has a place at least.
Right. Let's talk about the event, the PvE event this week, Tabletop RPG Monster World. And I noticed some things were different this time. I mean, obviously, didn't you think the thing was kind of weird? They just had, like, Tristan and Bakura, like, in the middle of a conversation, and he turns him into a doll. Like, it just... There was, like, no, like, backstory to why that happened, right? It was kind of unusual.
Yeah, that's kind of true. It was a little bit weird. I mean... It doesn't tie into any really of the show stories like a lot of our other events do, so in that sense it's weird. But at the same time, I didn't really think anything of it because I'm just playing Duel Links. Like it wasn't like I don't know, like an immersive RPG or anything where this would have broken the story for me. I was kind of just like, all right, whatever, let's do the event.
And they also have these text box fields in the event. It's kind of like Bakura was like, there's a dying guy, and by the way, he was level 3. It's like, aha. So he's just like laughing at these guys.
Yeah, I noticed that too. They made it seem more like a tabletop RPG, where
Right.
Bakura's like the dungeon master, and he's giving you these little bits of dialogue, like you said, and yeah, it's kind of interesting that they leaned more into it in that way. But then it's still a Yu-Gi-Oh thing, so the stakes are still like Tristan becomes trapped in this thing forever. You can't just play a game in Yu-Gi-Oh. You have to have like your soul or something at stake.
Right. And I also noticed the last time I complained about the slow speed of the dice battles. That's still the thing. So the technology was not fixed. It still takes forever for the dice battles to go through. Sometimes tapping the guy really fast helps it go, but the first dice roll typically takes a really long time for me.
Yeah.
Oh well. Look at the cards. Umber Mirage, the Elemental Lord, 8-star Fiend, 2800, 2200. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by having exactly 5 dark monsters in your graveyard. If it's special summoned, add 1 monster with 1500 attack or less from your deck to your hand. You can use this effect once per turn. If this card leaves the field, skip the battle phase of your next turn. All the Elemental Lords are horrible because they need exactly 5 monsters in the graveyard. But yeah, if you want to do something fun, lower level, a card you could think about is Snipe Hunter, which could kind of help clear the way for this guy to attack, maybe.
Yeah, this reminds me of a deck that I ran, like a year ago, that ran Skull Layer and a bunch of dark monsters, and between Skull Layer and Dark Necrofear, and then there were a couple cards like a Gateway to Chaos or something like that, that took advantage of whenever you banish something from your graveyard, you got a positive effect. And basically it was just a banish from your graveyard deck. And you can also bring back like dark monsters that have been banished and stuff. So there's a little bit, I think dark monsters have a little bit more control over banishing from the graveyard than do most classes. So it might be slightly easier to get exactly 5 in your grave for this one. But I agree, it's probably still not going to happen. That's like a tier 4 deck that you play just for funsies. It's not like a competitive meta viable deck at this point.
Yeah.
Entirely too slow for the game at this point.
Right. Here's a card that might be useful. Jin, Demolisher of Rituals, 3-star Fiend, 1500, 600. When you ritual summon a monster, you can banish this from the graveyard as one of the monsters required for the ritual summon. If a player ritual summons using this card, the ritual summoned monster cannot be targeted by card effects by the other player. So we always talk about the Desidera of Rituals. That was immune to trap cards, I believe. And this one makes a monster that's ritual summoned untargetable. I know it's 3 stars. Does that completely screw up Cyber Angels, or is there a chance they come back because of this card?
I was thinking about that too, and I'm not sure. I mean, the Petite Cyber Angel was always good, and that was a 2-star. So since rituals don't have to be perfect matches,
Right.
in the same way that synchros do, that might be good enough. It might work. I am generally thinking that Cyber Angels don't come back just because they were kind of nerfed pretty hard. And I don't know. I don't think this is enough to bring them back, but it is a really good card, and I'm glad that we'll get it, because I think at some point it'll probably have some value.
Yeah. Finally, a card I remember very well, the Royal Keeper, 4-star Zombie, 1600, 1700, once per turn. You can flip this card into face-down defense. When it's flipped face up, it gains 300 attack and defense until the end of the turn. So it's got those mechanics kind of like those clown control cards where you could flip them, but unfortunately it just becomes a 1900, 2000 for hitting things, so it doesn't really do any of the control aspect, and then it doesn't really belong in any zombie deck, so it's just, a potentially strong zombie if you have a field out, that's all it is.
Yep. Yeah, I remember this guy too. He looks really familiar. I don't think I ever played it, but it looks familiar.
I had no choice, I only had, my cards. I got it from booster packs. Alright. So, as a result of the tabletop RPG, we got Tristan. And I forgot to look up Tristan's cards.
Oh.
So, yeah, this was a really long time coming. I forget when the first time I complained about not having Tristan was. It was at least a year ago, right? I would say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so. we were talking about how like the gang's all here except for Tristan.
Yeah, I forgot who the last straw was. I mean, no, it was probably when they were adding people like Bones and Esperoba, and then I was like, where's Tristan?
Yeah, I have a pretty good recollection of them adding Bones and you being upset about that because Bones was like such a minor character, and I was like, I remember Bones, he matters, and you're like, where's Tristan? I'm like, okay, fine, that's fair.
Yeah. All right. I'm almost there. All right, let's do it. So, Tristan gives out some cards, and these were actually leaked because I was looking at the cards you get and filtered by release date, and they appeared before you can actually get them. They added them to the game. So, let's talk about the cards. You get 3 copies of Freed the Brave Wanderer. This is a 4-star warrior, 1700, 1200. Once per turn, you can banish 2 light monsters from your graveyard to target 1 face-up monster on the field that has higher attack than this card. Destroy that target. So, I mean, this is a type of card you need a lot of light monsters in the graveyard, something like Blue Eyes and Boojins, but, you know, like, what's the point, right? Like, you're kind of banishing them for a worse effect. Those monsters, you're kind of wasting them. So, this might have a spot in something like Light Sworns, I'm thinking, where they do ditch their cards and they don't really use them again, so maybe.
Yeah, or worms, right? Weren't some
Worms.
of the worms
They're all light, yeah.
Yeah, boom, there you go. I don't know. I do think that it's a pretty powerful card. You know, it's recurring removal. It is a decent body, and you can, even though it kind of requires them to have bigger guys than him, which kind of implies that he'll be losing fights, it's not so bad because you can fairly easily protect him with, you know, your various wall of Ds and mirror walls and all of that.
He could fight Breaker and win.
Yeah, there you go. So I like this guy. I think it's cool that we got 3. I'm not sure if we'll see play with it right away, but it's another one of those cards that I'm glad we have in our arsenal, and I expect at some point it'll maybe see a little bit of play.
Here's another impressive monster that we get 2 of. Absolute Crusader. 4-star warrior, 1800, 1200. If a level 5 or higher monster is special summoned, tribute this face-up card, destroy that level 5 or higher monster. Yeah, I think almost every meta deck has some kind of special summon of a level 5 monster. And this is a quick effect, I think. You could just do it before they activate their effect. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think you're right, because otherwise it doesn't really make sense as a card. And I agree. I think this guy is pretty solid. You can play a 4-star generally faster and more easily than you can special summon something bigger than it. You can bring it back with various cards.
Powerful Rebirth.
Thank you. I couldn't remember the name of the trap yet. Powerful Rebirth is the one I was specifically thinking of. This just seems like a very solid guy to kind of just play in a lot of decks, or maybe specifically just in those control, maybe banish based or some other monster based control deck.
Yeah, we're off to a good start with Tristan cards.
Yeah.
Now for some less good cards. Going into that, Tardy Orc, which we're getting 3 of. This is a 4-star 2200 0 Fiend. This card cannot attack the turn it is normal summoned. So this is pretty much the Giant Orc, except he's on late for something. And I think it's better than the Giant Orc because that one attacks and then flips to 0. This one you could just keep on the board, and then it just holds the board. But, you know, obviously this is the type of card that's not good enough anymore, but it is good for a beginner deck. It just stays on the board as a 2200, so.
Yeah. Also, I have to say, hold the board. Alright, yep.
This is a card we get 1 of, Muscle Medic, 4-star 2200 100 warrior. If a player would take damage from battle involving this card, they gain that much life points instead. So this is yet another 4-star 2200. I don't think this downside's horrible though. Like, you could just attack monsters, and who cares if they gain the life unless they're a vampire player, or if they've got mirror walls, if they've got cosmic cyclones. So it's kind of like in the same vein as it's not amazing, but its downside's not horrible. And then you could, unfortunately, there's only one, and you can't do some kind of bad reaction to Samachi anti-cure deck, but it's not horrible.
Yeah, I think it's another card that more likely is good if you have a more limited collection, because it's kind of one of those cards that's not like good so much as it's just not bad. It's good for controlling the board because it's bigger than most of the other things that you're going to face, especially as just a 4-star monster. So you can attack into stuff, and if your opponent gains like 100 life here, 300 life there, you're right. You normally don't care about that. But once you get into higher levels of play, you might as well just run an Econ or a Wall of D and run just, monsters that use your other cards to control the board and then run more powerful monsters. So it's kind of it's like a limited downside, but we have so many cards in the game and they're so powerful that now we need cards that instead of having a limited downside, just have a big old upside. Right. So it's another one of those cards that's really good for newer players, I think, and might have some uses for more established players, but probably not a ton.
And then his last reward, which is his level 45, I think 45 reward, Motivating Captain. 1-star warrior, 400, 1200. When this card's normal summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense mode. Its effects are negated. This is kind of a card you just put bodies on the board, like tuners, for example. You get a level 4 tuner and get a level 5 synchro right away. Something for fusion, something to bring something back.
Yeah. And then there's also like some cards, not a ton, but some cards that you can, catapult turtle or whatever, cards where you have to sacrifice something in order to get an effect, so you can use it for fuel for that as well. I think the weakest use is probably just like the normal summon something, but I did remember Big Shield Gardna. So you can now summon a Big Shield Gardna and it won't flip itself into attack position.
Right.
So, boom. Value.
We're going back with Catapult Turtles and Big Shield Gardnas, man.
Yeah, I know.
They're just crazy strats.
Are you trying to tell me these aren't meta cards?
It was a meta card for a while, I guess, yeah.
The Catapult Turtle never was, but Big Shield Gardna was.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Tristan's skills, and 3 out of 4 of the skills are actually pretty good. Pretty good in that they had to nerf them right away, like to limit the ability of the skill. And as mentioned in the beginning of the show, I have already made use of one of them. So let's go through these skills. Deckmaster affects Cyber Commander. This is the one that sucks. Basically, if you have a Cyber Commander on the field, your warriors and machines gain 300 attack and defense. You have to run a Cyber Commander, which I believe is a 750 monster. It comes 1050 with the buff. And there are cards that do better than that for machines and warriors, respectively. I can think of the A Forces for warriors, and something like Machine King for the machines, so yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You just never play this. This is kind of for the memes because the card looks like Tristan. So it's kind of, that's why that's in there.
Yep. So don't play that card unless you want to role play for a game.
Yeah.
Now here are 3 good skills. I'm not done yet. So this can only be used after turn 5. So it basically depends if you go second or first, what turn you get. So your turn 6 if you're going second. If you're going first, it's turn 5. And basically you reset your life to 2,000. So you could have more than 2,000. It drops If you have less than 2,000, it goes up to 2,000. And right away I thought about vampires, because sometimes you're stuck with 600 life, you bring something back, then you can't do anything again. Or if you have 500 or less, you're done. There's nothing you could do. So 2,000 life would give 3 vampire abilities. So you could get 3 cards back, or you could use Vampire's Domain to get another normal summon out. So this is a really good comeback mechanism for vampires, and this is the basis of my Tristan Vampire deck. I did it this morning where I had 600 life. I did it. I don't think it mattered in the end, but let me use Cosmic Cyclone again, so there's something there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's some value to just getting a bit more life. I mean, some people run life point whatever boosts. That the life point boost is slightly better in protecting you against like OTKs, but it gives you similar value when you're using things like Cosmic Cyclone. So it's like never dead in that sense. And then it also has those benefits for vamps. I was thinking psychics have a similar thing where they like to pay life to get effects. And then I was kind of looking for other ones as well. Tunes, haven't seen them in a while, but maybe it's the throwback episode for me. Card of Soul, that's kind of a tutor effect. You can specifically set yourself to 2,000. I didn't look up what that gets you, but I could see that being a thing maybe if you can reliably get yourself to that life point. And, you know, there's other cards, like you said, Cosmic Cyclone, the Volcanic Shell, the Mirror Wall, just various things where you have to pay life. This can help you do more of that. So, cool.
Very good. Reload. So this, after turn 5, you basically use a free reload that's not a card, but you send all the cards back to your deck, and you take as many cards back in your hand. And talk about this card. I noted that it's worse than Restart and Switcheroo in regular PvP for different reasons. Restart, you're stuck with the dead hand. You have to wait till turn 5 and after turn 5. And then Switcheroo, you can't really get to pick what you send back. But why is this potentially usable?
Potentially. So I remembered that Reload has seen a tiny bit of play, and it was specifically in like a combo Exodia based deck, and but at that point it was with, I forget what it was called, Card of the Void or something like that, where you had to draw cards during your draw phase. So for that, the quick play aspect of the card reload was kind of integral to it working. So I don't think it'll work specifically in that sense, but I do think that it's pretty powerful to just be able to completely redraw your hand. You can fill up your hand with stuff. If we're just going full throwback, Thunder Dragons was a thing that we used to do this, and then you can trade them out for something more useful. So I'm thinking it might see some competitive play if you have some sort of deck where you just really want a specific card, and then this will help you get there in the same way that like Restart and Switcheroo do, except that it for Restart you get +1 card. Well, yeah, you get +1 card, so that's helpful. And versus Switcheroo, you get to do it in mass, and so you kind of get more chances, I guess. So maybe some sort of combo where you specifically want a certain card. I could see it kind of being a decent search mechanic. I wouldn't write this one off, is all I'm saying.
You're talking about that reminded me, this would have been really good in a bamboo deck.
Mm-hmm.
You're just looking for that golden bamboo. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, if anything like that ever comes back, I expect that at some point this skill will be abused by some sort of combo deck. It may or may not be good enough to actually like warrant any sort of changes or like actually really shape the meta, but I do think that we will hear about this skill being used at some point.
Finally, the third potentially useful skill is Super Strength, and basically what this does is after turn 5, you can set one of your monsters' attack to 2,000. Again, this could be a monster with more than 2,000 or less than 2,000. I think it will be useful for a direct attacker like Oguchi, and you set that monster to attack directly for 2,000, and then you add stuff to it to make it kill you in one turn after playing Hatred.
Yeah. And I had a similar idea. If we're already playing Hatrunade, we might as well go into full PvP farming mode and use a Piranha army and a secret pass to treasure, and just set your Piranha to 2,000, attack for 4k in one hit.
Oh yeah, that's even more efficient.
So, well, you can only run 2 secret pass, so that restriction finally matters. But yeah, that's I don't know if that'll actually be good, but it's a thing.
Yep. Overall, I am stunned at how good Tristan's skills are. They just want Tristan to be in PvP, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of potential here. I too am a little surprised, but it's kind of like when they brought Paradox Brothers out, and you're just like, holy crap, these guys are really good. They're kind of random. I think that might have been the one that took set you off. By the way, now that I'm thinking about it, Paradox Brothers. Anyway,
Maybe.
So yeah, just some good options here. I think that some of these are definitely going to see play.
For sure. So Tristan's here to stay. His cards are okay. Some cards might be playable, and his skills are definitely in the consideration. That is it. So
Yeah.
we are going to talk about the card flipper campaign, which gives us 2 cards. One, a new card, and then another card that we get a potential third or second copy, depending on what you did for your Kaiba Corp ticket. So if you used it to get a second one, here's your third. Lucius the Shadow Vassal is the new card. 1-star Fiend, 800, 1,000. You can banish 1 level 5 or higher monster in your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. Also, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck until the end of the turn. If this card is tributed for a tribute summon, you can look at all set cards your opponent controls. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect. You can use this effect once per turn. So, I might be too optimistic in thinking this works for vampires, but they have level 5s in the graveyard, and Grace, you kind of try to guess what card to destroy. This kind of lets you see everything. I might be too optimistic, but this could work for vampires.
Yeah, maybe. And then you also noted things like UAs or anything else that kind of wants to just have some sort of ramp. Sure, this kind of might fill that role. We have a lot of ways to do with that ramp now,
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure that this one makes the cut over any of those other ways, but it's one that you can consider.
And of course, this is a Monarch type card, and those cards never really made it. It's designed for the Monarchs. We don't have the Dark Monarch yet, I believe. So maybe we're leading up to the Dark Monarch.
Maybe.
And then Lang Ling is the other card, which is the Union monster that lets your guy hit twice. And it was a thing for Cyberdarks. I've been murdered by those decks, and now you get your third copy. So it's possible Cyberdarks can crack the lower tiers. Yeah, right. It's possible.
Yeah, it is. It's possible.
Alright. It's rare that we save the mini box for last, but Tristan was just too important, and we had to talk about him, so here's the mini box.
Had to,
yeah. I mean, those cards were just better than these. That's just what it was. Or his skills were better than these cards. Secrets of the Ancients. This is the Ancient Fairy Dragon themed box. Of course, each box has been named after a signer dragon. I think people are waiting for Akiza's monster, the one that blows up the whole board, the Black Rose Dragon. But this is not it, obviously. And I don't know. What do you think about this box? I didn't like it. That's just my general thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had only a quick chance to look at it, so I didn't go super in depth. But I think the trap hole monsters and trap hole, their synergies are fairly strong, and will be a decent buff to those really annoying decks that can just kind of lock everything down. So I don't like it either because I don't like facing those. And then there's a couple of other cards that I noticed that kind of made me raise my eyebrows. So I think there's probably at least one viable set of things to get out of this box. Um, but a lot of it does have to do with kind of synchros. It seems like those are a fairly big part of every box we've had since they introduced synchros. And I wonder if at some point, once we get a critical mass of synchro cards, they won't feel like they need to infuse even more every set. Um, but for now, we have a lot of cards that aren't super interesting to me because synchros as a whole haven't proven to be super interesting yet. Um, but like I said, I think the trap thing is the main thing here.
Right. That appears to be the only reason to buy this box. Let's talk about the URs and SRs. Ancient Fairy Dragon, we already know what this card does. It's a 2100 3000 7-star synchro. You can special summon a level 4 or lower from your hand. You can't attack. You can destroy as many fields as you want. And you gain life points. So the whole destroying the field thing doesn't really make sense in Duel Links. So that's where we are with the Ancient Fairy Dragon.
So I noticed, this is one of the ones that kind of raised my eyebrow a little bit. It lets you destroy as many as you want and then gain a little life, and then add one from your deck to your hand.
Right.
So I'm thinking any sort of I think that that's fairly powerful. That's a tutor effect. It's a draw effect. You could use it for something like Toon Kingdom, where we only have one copy, so now you can just get it. You could use it for any field that you want to play multiple times for whatever reason, which there have been a few. You could use it. I mean, I don't think you would, but you could use it for powerful fields like the UA Stadium, right? That's a field. Yeah. And so, there are certain decks that use fields, and I think just having this to pretty much guarantee that you can draw it isn't nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it does special summon the level 4, which I think... I mean, you're talking about fields, I'm thinking of vampires right away. And you special summon the level 4, you can get another card from that ability. You can get the bat or the dog out, and then you get another card from your deck, and then you get the field, so maybe there's something there.
Yeah. I think there is definitely a cost to... I mean, we've said it before. There's definitely a cost to running synchros, right? You have to build your deck in a specific way. I just think that this card is kind of already designed to recoup some of that cost. And so I think that this might see play at some point.
The next card is Armades, Keeper of Boundaries, 5-star Fiend Synchro. No specific requirements. It's a 2300, 1500. If this card attacks or is attacked, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. So this is similar to an Ancient Gears effect, except it seems to also prevent the hand quick effects too.
Yeah, which is decent. 2300 is not great, but it's only a level 5, which is sometimes easier, sometimes harder. So I don't know. I think you made a good point in the notes here that a lot of decks just that run tuners would just run a level 5 tuner if they run something like Econ, just for the possibility that sometimes they can Econ take and then tribute it to get something out. And this might be a better option for that level 5 than the Double X Wayne or whatever his name is.
Yeah. And then Junk Synchron, this card is ready. We have one copy, I believe, so far. And level 3 Warrior Tuner, 1300, 500. If it's normal summon, you can special summon a level 2 or lower from your graveyard. Special summon in defense mode as its effects negated. Obviously, this is designed for a level 5 tuning of a synchro summon right away.
Yep. And I don't know. I think it's a good thing to get more of. If you want to do that, then this is a very consistent way to do it. Before we had to use the skill, which was bad. So now I think we can just use it. And I expect that it'll probably see play at some point in some capacity. Not in anything I'm particularly interested in, but it seems like a fairly powerful card.
We all do have that Prismatic Junk Warrior. that goes with this, I guess.
There you go.
Everyone has it. It's a free to play card. Now we're talking about the SRs, the powered in Zectron 6-star machine synchro, no tuning requirements, specific ones. I mean, 2500, 1600. When this card is synchro summoned, this turn, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. Also, you take no damage. It plays around things like Widespread Ruin and Mirror Wall. That's something, I guess.
Yeah, and so I looked into this. This was another one that made me raise my eyebrow. All of this other stuff seems to be based on battle, but, well, yeah, maybe not. So it says, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and then also you take no damage. And so I read that to mean, can't be destroyed in battle, can't be destroyed this turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, this turn. Everything's this turn. So, yeah, that modifier is the one, which essentially to me means that this turn you take no damage.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting because there's lots of things that deal damage to you. Dealing damage is different than paying life, but still, I think that this is not nothing. I think this is something that we can break at some point. I haven't looked into specifically how, but I do think that there's something here.
And I think the Inzectron tag doesn't really matter, right? It's just a card that has no requirement, so who cares if it's Inzectron, right? Like, it doesn't matter, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. The Inzectrons are the ones that you play as, like, equips, right?
Yeah. There's one that does piercing, for example, I think.
Yeah, I think some of the Inzectrons say, like, equip this to an Inzectron, right?
Okay, that could work, yeah.
In that sense, it might matter, but I don't think it does.
Here's possibly the most exciting card of the set. Traptrix Attracts. 4-star insect with 1800, 1000. This card's unaffected by the effects of whole normal trap cards. Whole in quotation marks. You can activate whole normal trap cards from your hand. The activation and effects of normal trap cards activated on your side of the field cannot be negated. This is a whole new archetype. WHOLE, whole new archetype. And yeah. she plays around Floodgate and Treacherous Trap Hole. She's like Jetroid in that you can activate the traps from your hand, which is super sneaky, and prevents them from being destroyed. The third effect doesn't really matter because I don't think people negate traps anymore, they just let them go through. So, who cares about that? But this could be a whole new thing. This is really strong.
Yeah, I think this one and the next one are kind of like we said at the start. I think these are kind of the reason why you buy the box, is if you're interested in doing this, because this seems like a really powerful effect. Especially, like, 1800's already a decent attack, especially when you consider that you're running it in a deck where you are specifically using trap holes, and the trap holes are, flipping things to defense or lowering their stats and stuff. So 18 is very competitive in that deck. I think this is really solid.
And we've already seen Geminis. They just get by with 1800 attack monsters too. So, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Traptrix Dionea. This is the other monster. 4-star plant, 1700, 1100. It's not affected by the whole cards. When it's normal summoned, you can target one Traptrix monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense. When this card is special summoned, you can target one whole normal trap card in your graveyard, set it, but banish it during the end phase of your next turn. If it's still on the field, you can use this effect once per turn. So this has a dual recycle ability. You can get a monster back and one of your trap cards back too.
Which seems really good to me.
Pretty good.
Another key piece to this new deck archetype that we're talking about, I think it'll play just like kind of similar to the banish controls or just kind of the tempo control things that we've seen in the past, and it seems like a strong archetype, so I think this will be part of it.
Note that the previous card was an insect, this one's a plant, so any type synergies you're trying to combine with this won't work, so there it goes.
Yeah, I don't think that's what we care, but okay. I mean, you could just run this with like endless trap hell, and you just actually just have a constant stream of traps to lock down your opponent's board or just make them rage quit. I don't know.
Right. Now for some not that good cards. A couple here. Trident Warrior, 4-star Warrior, 1800, 1200. When this card's normal summon, you can special summon one level 3 or monster from your hand. So, monster could be in attack mode. You could get more attacks. You could get a tuner out and get a level 7 right away. That appears to be its use.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about. How I think they're still going pretty hard at synchros, and they're generally just not things that I care too much about.
Here's another one that's like that. 3-star Delta Flyer, 3-star Dragon Tuner, 1500, 900. Once per turn, you can select one other face-up monster you control and increase its level by 1. Very uninspiring. Level modulation never really mattered, except for beatdown things. So, very boring card.
Yeah, I agree.
This one, Gigantis, 4-star Rock, 1900, 1300. This card cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by banishing one Earth monster from your graveyard. If it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, destroy all spells and traps on the field. So it's kind of like one of those spirit cards that they come out for free for having an Earth in the graveyard, but it has a pretty good ability of destroying all spells and traps.
Yeah, I think this guy's pretty solid. It's not super hard to banish just one monster of a specific type. You could build your deck to do that. So that means this is a free 1900 attacker that also, when it can destroy all spells and traps on the field. This seems like a pretty solid card to me.
Gene Warped Warwolf, 4-star Beast Warrior, 2000 attack. This card is so uninspiring. I didn't even know it was a werewolf. It was a werewolf.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a vanilla guy.
Yep. This werewolf was given incalculable strength through horrific genetic manipulation. Its gentle nature was completely wiped out, and now it only lives to unleash destruction.
Wow.
Good backstory for a boring card, I guess.
Yeah, bummer. Okay.
Verdant Sanctuary, continuous spell. When a face-up insect monster is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, its controller can add one insect monster with the same level as the destroyed monster from their deck to the hand. I thought this was a field spell, but it's not a field spell. But it functions the same way, I guess, and unfortunately there's not really a use for this card right now, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think that this is anything that we specifically want. I mean, I guess you can do. Yeah, I guess you can play this in some sort of like with the Man-Eater bug control or something. But in those types of decks, you tend to not want to draw more of your cards. So I don't think that this is a valuable card.
I guess the Insectrons are the ones that are kind of the aggro insect deck.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's what it's trying to do. But then it's like, if it's an aggro deck, then you're generally not banking on losing your guys being destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, that's not part of your game plan, whereas it is if you have the Man-Eater bug. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Trap Chicks Trap Hole Nightmare, normal trap card. When a monster that was special summoned this turn activates its effect on your opponent's field, negate that effect. If you do, destroy that card. This kind of goes into the Trap Tricks set. You're going to try to get your best hole cards out. This one could just destroy your monster when they do their effect, and this could be in your hand so they don't see it coming.
Yeah, I think this is just something you add to that set, or that deck, if you want to build that deck. It seems pretty decent.
And finally, Lairwire, normal trap card. Remove from play one insect monster in your graveyard. Select one monster your opponent controls. Destroy the selected monster. So this fits into any insect strategy, obviously. It's pretty much a free removal. I mean, the cost isn't too high. You're probably not going to use the monster again. Insectrons probably, they bring stuff back from the graveyard, I guess. So that's a bummer, but it's pretty good removal.
Yeah, I think it's... I mean, I don't think that insects are good enough to play. But if you do, this is a really good card for it.
Talk about some R's and N's that were exciting. There weren't too many that were exciting, but there were a few. Bird of Roses. This is a 4-star plant with 1800, 1500. When this face-up attack position card is destroyed by battle by an opponent's attacking monster and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 2 plant tuners from your deck in face-up defense. So this sets up the Black Rose Dragon and any other tuning that you're trying to do. Special summoning 2 tuners is very strong. I think that's what got my eye here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing with tuners is that you, at least all the ones I've seen, all the synchros say 1 tuner plus X non-tuner. So getting out 2 tuners is interesting. It makes you have to like synchro summon one thing and then use that thing plus the tuner to synchro to the next step, which is usually not bad. I mean, it's emptying out your extra deck, which I guess could hurt you, but instead putting the thing into your graveyard. But that it's still ramp. So, and then this card has decent stats anyway, so you could kind of just play it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Mother Spider next. This is a 6-star insect, 2300, 1200. If you only have insect type monsters in your graveyard, you can send 2 face-up defense monsters your opponent controls to the graveyard and special summon this from your hand. So the effect is a bit like Lava Golem. You take out 2 monsters to get a card, except this is your monster. It's a free 2300. And it's a special summon too, so you could play a monster. There are the limitations. You have to have the insects in your graveyard, and they have to be face-up defense. So you need a Windstorm or a Curse of Anubis.
Yeah, we were talking about this. Face-up defense is a little bit tough. We haven't really played a ton of those cards in a while, but sure, I guess we could try to make it happen.
There are 3 cards we're going to talk about together: King of the Beasts, Beast Striker, and Moha. And I think this could be something. So the Moha is the striking card, a very striking artwork. I don't know why it's striking, but it is. It's like an emoji on a thing, right?
Yeah.
Who's angry. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 level 4 beast from your graveyard. Oh, it's from your graveyard to your hand. And then the Beast Striker is a level 4, 1850. Once per turn, you can discard 1 card to special summon 1 Moha from your deck. And then the King of the Beast is a 2500. You contribute 1 face-up Moha you control to special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. There can be only 1 face-up King of the Beasts on the field. So, to be honest, I didn't read all the card's effects when this is the first time I'm reading them. So you can't have multiple King of the Beasts on the field, but this is a card you can keep bringing back. There are cards like Limit Reverse or Powerful Rebirth, for example, that bring back the Moha. And you could keep resurrecting the King of the Beast. So it's kind of like Red Eye Zombie, but you can only have 1 at a time. And it's 2500, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Could this be anything, you think?
I do not.
Oh?
No. I think it's like a cute little interaction. And it's kind of cool, but I don't think it'll be like a competitive thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was just thinking of a way to make the beasts work. And this kind of reminded me of Red Eye Zombie, but now that I found that you can only have 1, that does hurt a bit.
Yeah, and it's also just like why would you run it over something else that you can do? And even your comparison to Red Eye Zombie, first of all, you don't play that over Blue Eyes right now. But even if you did, it's like, why would you play this over that?
Yeah.
And I just don't think that this will make the cut.
You do it because of reasons. That's the only...
That's a good point.
That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Alright. This card could be interesting. Savage Coliseum. It's a field. If a monster attacks, at the end of the damage step, its controller gains 300 life points. That doesn't matter. All monsters must attack if able. During the end phase, destroy all face-up attack monsters Attack position monsters the turn player controls that did not declare an attack. This is confusing because it forces the monsters to attack if able, and then they get destroyed if they can't. So would they have to be like they had a mask of a cursed on or a massive morph on or something like that?
Maybe. I think it might also be a remnant of in the physical TCG they have a second main phase.
Oh yeah.
And it's just so that you can't play around this by playing your stuff in second main phase.
But I see this as a control card. Like you play a ton of trap cards and then you force them to hit into your trap cards repeatedly. Type card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe.
Goes into the annoying control vein. I see.
Yes, yeah, fits right in.
Super Rush Recklessly, trap card. Target one beast monster you control and one monster your opponent controls. Destroy the first target, which is the beast. And if you do, shuffle the second target into the deck. This is hard removal. It's pretty good. Sometimes it's better, I think, to put them in the deck instead of the graveyard for certain cards like Blue Eyes. And this is, obviously you have to play the beast, which sucks, but it is hard removal.
Yeah. I think it's something. I mean, I think it's worth considering, but you're going to want to play it like for a reason that you want your beast type in the graveyard, I think. I don't think you want a 2-for-1 yourself.
Yeah.
Unless like you get a benefit out of it.
What if you chain like Beast Rising? Can you get both effects off?
I have no idea.
That would be pretty good.
What's Beast Rising do again?
It's like you sacrifice the monster and then the other one gains its attack.
Oh, right.
So I was wondering if you could do both things.
I think you can, based on reading this, but I'm not an expert at the Yu-Gi-Ohs.
Yeah.
Despite what you might think, based on my having a podcast on it.
Yeah, it means nothing. And the last card I want to talk about is Self-Mummification. It's a pretty simple card. It's a quick play spell. Select one monster you control, send it to the graveyard. So this is purposefully sending your monster to the graveyard. Some cards have effects when you get sent to the graveyard. Some cards you want specifically in the graveyard on purpose. So this does that.
Yeah. I think that's kind of cool.
Yep.
Could have value.
Overall, this box kind of sucks, but it has the Trap Tricks cards.
Yeah, I think the Trap Tricks are going to make a big impact. I don't think the rest of this will. One last thing I want to talk about is In Mato looks to have impaled himself on the on the it's kind of just a weird art.
Bar,
the bars, Jesus, I don't know why I couldn't remember that. The bars of his cell, so a very interesting situation going on there.
I was turned off by the art of a lot of these cards. Like, specifically these cards. Like, I don't know why. I like the Moha, but the other ones, I don't like this artwork.
Yeah.
The one that's cool is the Insectron, though, right? Like, it looks like it's like a CGI.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I've never really thought of Yu-Gi-Oh! As being super into the art. But yeah, I do like that Insectron guy. It doesn't really fit with the rest of the card. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, one of the aspects of it, like, not being super into the art, is that they have, like, I don't know, 6 different art styles that are pervasive in the game. So, it's kind of weird.
6 different art styles.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, there's, like, the cute monsters, and then there's, like, the, these other ones, and then the...
I thought you were giving me a whole, like, spiel, like, you actually knew, because... You're like an artist and also. I was thinking actually.
Oh, yeah, no, my art is all very casual.
Okay.
Amateur artist.
Let's talk about
Yeah, nothing. Go ahead.
Talk about Deep Link. So we were very excited about this feature. We thought you could send pretty much a deck list anywhere and then it could be seen anywhere. But what this does actually is it turns on the game. So if you're using a computer that does not have Duel Links, and also if you're on your phone, it pulls away from what you're doing, let's say you're playing Duel Links, it will just pull you away from your duel and send you to the deck list.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. You sent me one,
Twitter,
and I clicked on it on a computer that did not have Duel Links downloaded.
Why wouldn't it have Duel Links? I mean, shouldn't every computer have Duel Links?
Yeah, why not? I'll tell my boss that. And it just kind of sent me to the main Konami website, like I guess to tell me to download it, but it didn't even say like download Duel Links. It was just like, here's our website. And so it was all in all just kind of a weird thing. It is not the easy way of sharing deck lists that we kind of hoped it would be. Like the way that Hearthstone does it, which I think is kind of cool, is it gives you the list in like human form, so you can just read the cards if you want to. But it also gives you a code that you can then copy into your game, and then it'll automatically like build the deck for you.
Right.
So it kind of gives you both options, whereas this kind of gives you a bit of neither. I don't know.
Or clicks to the website.
Yeah. Not it's a
Needs work.
decent idea. I like making it easier to share deck lists, and because that's kind of part of growing and building the community. Card game players love sharing deck lists. I just don't think this was a very good way of doing it. So hopefully they continue to iterate on this idea and make it a bit better as time goes on.
Yes. The technology is here, but they just need to get it in the Duel Links script, I guess, whatever that is. Yeah. So, upcoming news, DD Tower Light Dimension will happen after this event ends, most likely. Well, the event ends on the 14th, so I guess we have a whole week of nothing, which doesn't make sense. Maybe it'll happen, they'll both happen at the same time.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Esperoba to the Gate. Hasselberry, I think he might drop the week of the 17th, if we're thinking about it that way. Duelist Challenges around Christmas time, most likely. And then after that, the Duelist Chronicles Welcome to Duel Academy.
Dino DNA.
Dino DNA. Yeah. I actually rewatched that episode where he had the whole spiel, and he only used like one magic card, I think, and he just like attacked all the time. That was his whole thing. Like, oh, I got like a 2,000 attack monster, I got 3,000 attack monster. I'm gonna attack you when you have your 2 face down cards. That's his whole strategy. So.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
We're going to wrap up. Shout out to Duel Puzzles, who apparently got people at work to listen to the podcast together. So they're all listening to us. Thank you very much.
Oh, geez.
What?
It's just, sorry. Sorry, Duel Puzzles.
Oh, yeah. Listen and subscribe on anywhere. We're on Spotify as well. Just look up the Duel Assessment Podcast. Check out the podcast and more at our website, theduelassessment.wordpress.com, Facebook, facebook.com/theduelassessment. If you want help support our work and you like what we're doing, patreon.com/duel_assessment. Email theduelassessment@gmail.com, or better yet, Twitter, duel_assessment, Green Ranger CCG, DeckTech HS DeckTech. You can follow the developments of Vampire Tristan and more.
That's right. Yeah, we love to see you guys there. That's where we are like all the time. So it's the best way to get like instant responses and tell us that people are listening at work and stuff. So it's great.
That's it. Enjoy Tristan.
We did it.
Enjoy Tristan.